Oh, Leo. Leo. Live. You guys are live.
Slow your roll. What? Slow down a little bit.
Nice.
Parents, families, teachers, staff, friends, and the Board of Directors, I present to you the Coleman Tech graduating class of 2016. Graduates, please remain standing. Everyone else, please rise. Israel Maldonado will now play the national anthem. Thank you very much, Israel. I'd like to invite Mr. McClendon to the podium to deliver the invocation. Graduates, let's give a hand to our assistant principal, Mr. McClendon.
You don't just post this all the time.
Good morning. Oh wait, maybe you guys didn't hear me. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you. It is an honor and a privilege to welcome you to the graduation ceremony for the 4th graduating class of Coleman Tech Charter High School, the class of 2016. I am fortunate to have a connection with the class of 2016 that many of you are not aware of. It was 40 years ago this month that I was one of the students sitting on stage graduating from high school. Yes, I am old. I am here today to deliver a non-denominational invocation for the Coleman Charter High School 2016. Before I get myself into too much trouble, let's take a quick look at the meaning of the word invocation. Invocation, to summon into action or bring into existence, often by means of magic. To many of the parents or guardians in attendance today, you may feel like you needed to get some kind of magic to get your child to school. To all the parents, family members, loved ones, and staff who've had a hand in getting your students to this day, I thank and applaud you. High school can be the best of times, the worst of times, or something in between. Regardless of how it felt, it is now almost over. This is a day of rejubilation. We are all on a grand journey, the journey called life. Parents, today is a moment in your child's journey. The moment is indeed special and should be cherished. Without question, they have endured many trials and tribulations or challenges to arrive at this moment. As a wise, aged man, me, I can tell their future, and it is indeed bright. I can also say that they will face many challenges or difficult moments. The important thing to remember is, no matter how long these moments seem to last, they will eventually pass. I contend that the most critical part of the challenges that they'll face is not the challenge itself, but their reaction to that challenge. Their reaction, or what we do, is what defines us. Every one of the students on the stage today has a capacity or ability to solve any challenge they meet head on. I've only been with Coleman Tech a short time, but I've seen these students thrive in adversity, successfully tackle the challenge, and rise from the floor just to get to this moment in time, their moment. I purposely refer today as a moment in their journey because the moment lasts only a short period of time. This is not the end of their learning and yearning for knowledge and growth. Class of 2016, whether college, armed forces, a career, or something else equally as grand is in your immediate plans, your journey is really just beginning to roll. No one's journey the same, and none are perfect. The journey should be viewed as a learning experience. Ms. Cohen, the writer of Orange is the New Black, I'm sure we've heard of that, said, "Life wasn't always this good. I spent the first part of my life very frustrated, feeling patronized, and fighting injustice. And it doesn't seem to work when you're young. But frustration turned into this. Hit shows like Orange is the New Black, Weeds. Whenever anyone told her that she couldn't do something, it pushed her buttons. Basically," she said, "she was driven by vengeance." What she said resonated with me, not because she was angry, but when her journey took her through tough times, she still trudged forward with a faith and conviction in what she was doing. She believed in herself, even when others did not. I look at each of the graduates on stage today and think, what separates her from them? My answer is absolutely nothing. She saw obstacles and fought through them. Everyone here on stage has the ability to do just that. When obstacles present themselves, they must push through. Every choice, every decision we make molds us and makes us who we are. High school is really about creating and executing on good habits. The habits we create will sustain us and guide you. The equation for success is actually quite simple. Consistent good effort habits lead eventually to good things. Unfortunately, the opposite is also true. No one, I repeat, no one succeeds without an error or challenges somewhere along the line. But the beauty of it here is, if we admit and accept the fact that we've made a bad choice and move forward with the desire and plan not to repeat it and learn from it, we'll all be better for it. I contend that if we have been perfect in everything we've done, we really haven't challenged ourselves, and we must challenge ourselves. Class of 2016, since you're on a journey, it is imperative that you understand that you're in control of your journey. The control gives you the right and the power to go in any direction. It also gives you the ability to go back and start anew, to refresh. The journey is a long one, and a wrong turn does not mean you're completely lost. You must be brave enough to realize that getting your bearings, for those of you that are as old as I am, that means your GPS, is a good thing. So when your journey goes off path, pause, get your bearings, and move back in the direction you desire. Do not be deterred by what in the long view is a short misdirection. In this class, the class of 2016, I see so much potential, so much strength, and intestinal fortitude. Now we, parents, family, loved ones, friends, Coleman Tech staff, have an obligation. It is up to us, to each and every one of us, to help bolster and lift them up by loving them, guiding them, gently pushing and prodding them along their journey. Challenge them to dream the impossible. Challenge them to formulate their plans for their dreams. Challenge them to execute their plans. We as a staff are honored to have played a role on their journey and relish the opportunity to help mold and guide them. These students are leaving our care today, but they will always be in our hearts and in our minds. So today, we're going to celebrate the dreams and challenges of everyone in attendance. Please close your eyes, and I want you to think about your dream. See the challenges that you will face. See yourself tackling the challenges. See yourself making the dream a reality. Take a deep breath and count to 4 with eyes still closed. Now slowly let out that breath to a count of 8. Now open your eyes. Let us all hope for added strength, overflowing love, and unlimited happiness for the class of 2016. Thank you, and congratulations, class of 2016.
Thank you, Mr. McClendon. What a fantastic addition he's been to our school. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Neil McCurdy. The students call me Dr. McCurdy. They'll soon be calling me Neil. I would like to offer a few words of wisdom to our graduates. Speaking to you on this very special day is an honor that I do not take lightly. As I stand on this stage in Balboa Park, I'm reminded of what I tell students each year while preparing them for their end-of-year reflections of knowledge. Getting people to listen to you, having an audience, is one of the biggest gifts that you can be given. I tell them the story of the gentleman who was always outside the Rumination Science Center just across the way. He stands on his soapbox, begging people to listen to him, but nobody ever does. All of us speakers here today, the valedictorians included, are so lucky to have this opportunity. Each year, I like to find the recurring theme that enters into the conversations that I have in my daily interactions with students, and share them with those of you who did not find yourselves in trouble, in conflict, or in pain. This year, finding the theme was easy. The seniors were practically shouting it at me as they presented their reflections of knowledge. Identity. That's the theme. Who am I? Who are we? I heard students say over and over that they now have the confidence to be who they want to be, to just be themselves, rather than who they felt others wanted them to be. How freeing to have confidence to be yourself. I could not ask for a better outcome for our graduates. You see, adolescence is defined by the struggle of figuring out who you are. This is a struggle that begins in middle school and carries with us well into adulthood, and even to death for those who are flexible to change. For you graduates, though, you've just lived through the most profound identity metamorphosis that you'll ever have to endure. And man, is it a doozy. You have wrenched your identity away from that of your parents, experimented with the identities of your friends, and have finally been flung out on the other side with an identity that you can call your own. But in truth, it's really an amalgamation of all of those other identities. What's so difficult about these teenage years is that while you're searching for this identity, and by the way, no one ever tells us that that's what it is that we're doing as a teenager, or perhaps they are, but we're not listening because we're trying to find our own identity. So while you're searching for this identity, you become hyper-focused on whether or not people are being true to their identities. Are they being fake? I hear this all the time as an administrator. Stuart is so fake. Stuart's not one of our students. Or, I'm sorry, that's who I am. I tell it like it is because I'm not fake. So many conflicts arise because of this. Friendships get lost because someone is perceived as being fake or different depending on who they're hanging out with. People refuse to apologize because I don't apologize when I don't mean it. Relationships with parents and loved ones get fractured because the child wants to have his or her own identity and will do everything possible to preserve it, including applying makeup, dyeing hair, getting piercings and tattoos, anything to differentiate themselves from their previous identity. Maturity in adulthood finally emerges when we realize that those are not the things that make us unique. There's nothing wrong with those things, but it's actually the freedom to be who we want to be. So perhaps even be just like our parents. That is the real goal. It doesn't really matter what people think. What matters is who I am and what makes me happy. Or so you might think. You graduates are about to embark on the next phase of identity metamorphosis. Some of you may have already begun it, because you see, it really does matter what others think of you. Those tattoos, those piercings, and the dyed hair do make a difference. Maybe they shouldn't, but they do. Others will look at you and judge you based on those things. Others will judge you based on how you talk, how you walk, how you dress yourself, how you eat, and what kind of car you drive. They shouldn't. That's all surface stuff. But they do, and they will. I'm being judged this very second. People are deciding whether or not what I have to say is true or valid. They're basing their opinions on what I say, yes, but also no small measure on what I'm wearing. This gown, this setting, the weight of this ceremony, all give more credence to what I'm saying. I could be standing here wearing my usual Saturday morning attire, shorts, soccer jersey, and yes, my sandals. But I made the conscious decision to wear this. I'll call it what it is, this ridiculous looking outfit, because history tells me that I should. This ridiculous outfit adds to the gravitas of the ceremony and makes the diplomas feel that much more important. So if I'm being judged this very moment on what I'm wearing, think about the weight that I must have given to all my other decisions during this speech. Every word that I've chosen has been chosen for a reason. The fact that I've written out my speech ahead of time and thought about what I'm going to say makes a difference. My choice of words, tone, and language all make a difference. Yes, maybe I'm a different person in other contexts. Maybe I swear a little. Maybe I don't use formal language. But I've had to modify my identity a little in order to fit this situation. Those of you who are students might be looking at me and thinking, he's so fake, he doesn't talk like that, he doesn't dress like that. The answer is, yes I do. I transform my identity as appropriate. In fact, I have a lot of different identities. I'm a father, and as a father I act like a goofball, prancing around the house in my underwear, doing silly dances to get a rise out of my kids. I'm a coach, and as a coach I sometimes scream, but mostly coach my players to perform their best. I'm a neighbor who smiles and waves at others as they drive by. I'm a friend who has a couple of drinks while watching a soccer game. I'm a citizen who says hello and responds with, I'm fine, whenever anyone asks. I'm a son who cares for his mother when she's ill and still relishes the hugs, praises, and expressions of love and pride that only a mother can give. I'm a husband who does the dishes, helps put the kids to bed, and plans the rare romantic anniversary excursion. I'm a loner who watches Game of Thrones late at night to unwind. I'm a teacher who leads by example, imploring students to be as passionate about learning as I am. I'm an administrator who challenges students to live clean, healthy, and productive lives. And now I have this new identity that I've had to adopt. I'm a principal who works closely with parents, teachers, staff, and students to safely navigate through the angst of the teenage years. My name is Neil. I have strong arms, and I've been to the moon. I'm sorry, my son came up with that last night, and I had to throw it in. Each of these roles requires a different identity. With my mother, I can mourn the loss of my brother. With my friends, I can swear like a sailor. With the staff, I exhibit compassion for our students. With my students, I try to exude professionalism and mutual respect. What does the real me? Am I being fake in any one of these roles? Is the Game of Thrones watcher the real me? That's what I do when I'm not performing for others. But yet, I love my job, and I eagerly await the start of each week. The real answer is that I'm all of these identities. Just as you students have become the amalgamation of your parents and your friends, we all become the sum of all of the roles we are forced to assume. I'm not being fake when I smile and high-five students as they come into school. Nor am I being fake when I want to be by myself and avoid talking to my friends at my kids' soccer games. Those different personalities can coexist and coexist, and they have to coexist if I'm to be successful in all of the different roles that I must adopt. There's a fantastic TV show that I just started watching this year called Orphan Black. In addition to the amazing acting done by Tatiana Maslany, who plays something like 6 completely different characters simultaneously, the show has captivated me because it demonstrates how fluid identity is. The main character is able to switch between a punk rocker, soccer mom, and scientist instantly. It has made me realize how easy it is for any of us to change identities at will. What an important skill this is. You never know what role you might be thrown into. You have to be able to adapt and exhibit the you that is expected of you in that role. I can think of so many examples where you graduates have already done this. Those of you who have worked in the service industry have already learned that you have to say please and thank you and give service with a smile. All of you have dressed up for exhibitions and reflections of knowledge and played the part of accomplished and intellectual student. I'm sure that you can just as easily tear up those clothes, mess up your hair, apply a little makeup, and become punk rockers. Graduates, I urge you to play with your identity now that you feel comfortable with who you are. You will be surprised by who you can become. I was a cool jock who became a geeky computer programmer. I was a computer programmer who became a research scientist. I was a research scientist who became a teacher. I was a teacher who became a principal. I'm still all of those people. If you ask me who I'd become when I was standing in your shoes during my graduation, there's no way I would have ever imagined being a high school principal. Let your identity morph into the roles that you will adopt. And if a particular skin ever feels uncomfortable, just shed it and try a different one. In fact, what really defines you is the roles that you choose. I'm sorry, but I'm not going to play the role of a leader in an organization that I do not agree with. If a white supremacist group comes calling, I'm not picking up that phone. It doesn't have to be that extreme, though. If an acting troupe asks me to be their accountant and tells me they'll make $1 million a year, I might at least return the phone call, but I'm not going to take the job. It just isn't me. We talked earlier about achieving the freedom to be yourself. I have the freedom now to choose the kinds of roles that I'm comfortable with. As you're finding yourselves over the next 60 years, you too will have that freedom. Why not choose to be the adoring son or daughter? Why not choose to be the one who smiles and makes everyone's day? Why not choose to be chivalrous, magnanimous, gentle, and kind? When you think about it, you spend your whole childhood preparing for the identities that you may adopt. I watch my own children play, and all they do is role play. My daughter jumps from being Fluttershy to Scootaloo. I call them Flutterbutt and Scootaloo. And from Anna to Elsa. My son jumps from being Messi to Ronaldo. You seniors just played the role of the Wicked Witch, the Scarecrow, and the Wizard of Oz. You played the roles of athletes, techies, news anchors, and producers. You've been leaders, scholars, artists, soldiers, surrogate parents, actual parents, musicians, chefs, counselors, school ambassadors, and writers. We prepare our whole lives for acting in the various roles that will one day define us. Does anyone think that Clinton, Bush, or Obama were really prepared for the presidency before they stepped in? I'm sure they all felt like pretenders. I felt like a pretender in my first few weeks as principal. We play the role, and then eventually we become that role. Graduates, you have such exciting lives ahead of you. I could not be more proud of each and every one of you. You have come dressed for the part of graduates. You have earned the right to be called graduates. I trust that you will now embrace your new identities as adults, citizens, and this year as voters. Carry yourself with pride as you embark on this new and exciting journey of adulthood. Wear your new skin with confidence and show the world what it means to be a graduate of Coleman Tech. Class of 2016, I congratulate you. Okay, we are now going to honor those graduates who have demonstrated an extraordinary commitment to community service. All graduates in the state of California are required to complete 15 hours of community service. Our graduates complete many more. Today, we will recognize those students who have demonstrated a commitment to service. Each of them has completed more than 150 hours of community service during their high school years. The Red Cord recipients are Andrew Anderson, he's not here today, John Baines, Elizabeth Blancas, Amanda Carlson, Paloma Quantanango, Colin Einfeld,
Yeah, Colin!
Jason Esquera, Nick Gonzalez, Alyssa Heald, Imani Lawton, Matt Lyon, Deshaun Min, Angelina Morris, Luis Palacios, Emily Perry, Jasmine Thompson, Lauren Tomasi, and Brandon Velasquez.
All right. Gold cords are given to students who have maintained outstanding GPAs throughout their high school years. A gold cord is given to each student with an cumulative GPA of 3.5 or higher. The gold cord recipients are, he's not here today, but Andrew Anderson, Preston Bowers,
Hey, Preston!
Amanda Carlson. Paloma Quantiango. Jason Esquera. Nicholas Gonzalez. Melissa Hill. Sophie Milstein. Sean Men. Emily Perry. And last but definitely not least, I have a quick story. The last gentleman's name is not on your programs out there, but when he transferred from Iran, we had a little issue transcribing his grades. His grades were all A's, but they were from 16 points to 20 points. But yes, he definitely should be up here and is up here. Baharam,
It is now time to honor the students who have earned the highest GPAs of all the graduating seniors. Traditionally, we have a valedictorian and a salutatorian. This year, we had two students who had essentially the exact same GPA. They both had straight A's, and they both took the same number of honors classes. So this year, instead of having a salutatorian, we have two valedictorians. It is my pleasure to introduce one of our valedictorians, Jason Esquera.
Hello. It's me. What can I say? Other than that I'm so proud of all of us. No stream of words can truly describe the memories created in the 3 years that I attended Pullman. All I know is that I will gravitate towards the cheesy side of the spectrum when I'm doing speeches, so bear with me. Throughout the years, I've discovered more than I expected when I stepped through the door on my first day. On that day, I walked into a labyrinth of uncertainty. But I think uncertainty as another word for opportunity. On that, the ticketing twist of the first year set a precedent for the following 2 years. The theme that would be simply put as joyous. To condense the complexity of the relationships and memories I've encountered into a short speech would not do it justice, nor would anyone be the end of it. But here all shines, so there it is. First, I'd like to extend my gratitude to the teachers and staff for creating an atmosphere that was both welcoming and rightfully challenging. Their confidence and determination allowed me to discover the clouds of knowledge. I'd also like to give a special thanks to Mr. Nelsenberger, the teacher that left the biggest imprint on my life. He was the one that taught me not to quit, even during the hardest of times. So I'd like to thank you for that. To all of the people who provided guidance, support, and encouragement, I say, the success of our future is your success, for you have given us the courage to do the unconventional, the intellect to excel, and the belief that we can succeed. To the graduating class of 2016, the immediate and distant future holds a plethora of uncertainties. But we are the future. We are the future doctors, musicians, and artists of the world. We must focus on strengthening our futures and be the leading exemplars for those who love us and follow us. Our actions must be done with confidence, and I expect no less. I said I would try not to make this sappy, but come on, you guys know me. Reminiscing the past few years was quite emotional, whether it be creating paper hats and calculus, telling inside jokes, directing ASB, or hanging with friends. All I know is that all of these will remain with me until the day I die. To my close friends, you know who you are. Nick, Lauren, Deshaun, Philip, Tom, and the rest. I love you guys. I can say with faith that the orchestra of creativity that echoes throughout the school will burn into the foreseeable future. And with that, I end with this. I walk among others in the labyrinth of life. I venture in a pack I can proudly call my friends. This school, a place where underdogs come to be, has given me memories to cherish until the day I die. Never will I forget the memories made, big or small, all have altered my life for the better. Thank you to all my friends, my teachers, my family, and all the others who guided me through this scholastic maze. Class of 2016, keep it real. Congrats, we've made it.
One quick thing, so those shirts were made by Ms. Terry Larson. I also want to give a big shout out to Terry for doing all the decorating for today. Thank you so much, Terry.
Yes, indeed. And our other valedictorian for the class of 2016, Amanda Carlson.
Welcome to beautiful Balboa Park, America's finest city, San Diego's finest people. We're all gathered here today to give their heartfelt love and support. Today we honor Coleman Tech's graduating class of 2016. Today we mark the end of studies, homework, sleeping in class, and student activities. We, the class of 2016, celebrate the closing of the old book and the opening of the new book of life, full of many more pages of wonderful adventures ahead. High school is just a small story spanning over 4 chapters, taking place at the school we all come to love. What makes Coleman unique is the environment. With a smaller student body than a traditional high school, we individually share a bond and connection among every student and staff member. Because of this, I believe the greatest strengths of the graduates and students here at Coleman stem from the home-like atmosphere. If there's one thing that can be learned, especially from a small setting, is that you're not going to like everyone. That's guaranteed. But if there's one thing this class has learned and shown true, is anyone can be a friend. These graduates who stand before you are the most caring, outgoing, and compassionate young adults you will ever have the pleasure to know. These seniors have the most charismatic personalities, like Celeste, Alyssa, and Nick. You'll never come across anyone more determined than Jason, Deshaun, and Raham. Furthermore, no one is more willing to drop everything to lend a hand than John, Gabe, and Diploma. There's a million extraordinary traits I could point out about every senior. Unfortunately, I don't have enough time to do so. So I highly encourage you to at least meet a few of them today. I've had the privilege to know all of you despite being a grade younger. You've accepted all us imposter juniors and taught us the ropes of high school. Some graduates joined the Lion family later on, but a small group came alive as a freshman in the old building that's now an apartment complex. So I would like to acknowledge John, Matt Ford, Jasmine, Alyssa, Nick, Preston, Paloma, Celeste, Justin, Matt Lyon, Angelina, Dylan, and Taj for starting high school and staying with Coleman over 4 years. How you survived is a miracle. Just kidding. There's an extraordinary reason why we all came alive, and that's what makes us such a tight-knit community. We all share the pleasure of learning from the most incredible staff, even the ones that left and became traitors. There's Spot Pizza and Spot Jelly. There's a special trait about every teacher we'll never forget, like how no one loves dinosaurs more than Miss Van Stocco, how no one can be cheesier than Miss Lochran, also known as Miss MC Golly Cheese. We'll never forget Miss Lowe's obsession with the New York Times Magazine, and we always know to listen to Mr. Nelsonberger. The Tower of Terror at College Party Adventure really is terrifying. Should have believed him. On behalf of the graduating class, we send our most heartfelt thank yous to every teacher and staff member. Thank you for not only teaching us APA format and the quadratic formula, but most importantly, lifelong lessons for your thoughtful life. To simply put it, growing up is hard. No matter how grown up or ready you think you are, by junior year, you're freaking out. Every staff member has always given up their personal time to help us, and for that, we're forever thankful. High school is a constant roller coaster of ups and downs, as is college, as is life. Times will get tough, but there's one thing that you can take away from today, is that you can overcome adversity. Just because it's hard now, it won't always be. You grow, learn, and overcome. A quote to live by Vince Lombardi states, "The only time success comes before work is in the dictionary." You've all worked so hard to be here. Be proud of your accomplishments and failures. Be proud of who you are and carry this knowledge throughout your life. There are many ways to write a story, many ways to live your life. Just be sure to live yours to the fullest. Through sports, sysadmin, robotics, and ASB, this class has grown together throughout the years. It's been an honor to be your classmate, your teammate, and friend, but most of all, a blessing to graduate with you all today. I thank you for all your friendship and joyous time. Huge thanks to the best parents for having such a cool kid. My brother, of course. Thank you to my brother Andrew for letting me sit with him every day at lunch when I was a freshman. Thank you to my wonderful grandparents for all they've done. Special shout out to my grandpa for helping me with this speech. Thank you very much. And thank you to the magnificent Joe Haynes who taught me how to be social and actually have a life. And last but not least, thank you to Miss J, Miss Lowe, Miss Steve, Mrs. Allison, Miss Lochran, Mr. Nelsonberger, Mrs. Botticelli, and Dr. McCurdy. I'm so grateful to have the pleasure to have you all as teachers. You're the real reason I'm in high school. We've all waited so long for this day to come, and here it finally is. As much as we say we're done and couldn't wait to be out of here, even the ones who won't admit it, we will all miss Coleman. Whether it be for the dear friendships, classmates, teachers, or the familiar schedule, we will all miss the time we shared together. There's no better way to close than a quote from Ellen DeGeneres. Follow your passion, stay true to yourself. Never follow someone else's path unless you're in the woods and you're lost. And you see a path, then by all means, you should follow that. I wish you all the best in life. I know you will all succeed. Please remember me when you make the day. Congratulations, class of 2016. We did it. Thank you so much.
Graduates, are you ready to receive your diplomas? I'm now going to introduce Miss Harper to deliver diplomas. And I have a little story about Miss Harper. Or wait, you guys want to go outside? Oh, my gosh. So I learned during the senior camping trip this year that Miss Harper is actually a world record holder. She apparently has a world record on some little tiny perch or something like that she caught, and we're still trying to verify it, but she apparently is a world record holder. So our world record holder is Ms. Lauren Harper.
Jacob, Olivia, and Sophia for a short time, I've seen each of them mature in different ways these past few years. Your drive to push through tough times in your past has made you all better people today. Jacob, you are a natural leader. Your ability to motivate people is incredible. Your ability to make people see the happier side of a situation is amazing. Remember to stay focused, stay motivated, stay driven, and pursue your dream of becoming an engineer. Olivia, you are so beautiful, it is crazy. You always look your best and are the best every day. You have the kindest heart and are willing to help anyone and everyone. You are the student who volunteered to mentor and help students through their own tough times. Keep this kind-heartedness and mentorship throughout your life, and it will lead you to greatness. Sophia, you are so driven to always achieve what others may say are difficult. You are a positive influence for your brothers, and they continue to look up to you every day. You are extremely resilient and a hard worker. Remember to continue this resilience throughout your life and pursue your dream of becoming a lawyer. All of you are destined for great things in life, and I hope the three of you are able to achieve them. Never allow anyone to lead you in the wrong direction and away from following your dreams. Jacob, Olivia, and Sophia, you are the ones who hold the key to your life's success. Congratulations. Allison is going to be next.
First of all, congratulations, class of 2016. Very proud of you. I wrote a copies on toad screen for Dr. Seuss. You can keep using them first, you can hang them on the wall, you can throw darts at them. Just a little something to help you get through life. Something that when you're going through tough times, just look at these and it'll help you keep going, I hope. So, that's my mom. For Brianna, your quote from Dr. Seuss says, "Take chances. The places I hiked to, the roads that I rambled, to find the best eggs that have ever been scrambled. If you want to get eggs, you can't buy at a store. You have to do things never thought of before." Take chances. Shoshi, your quote, "Be true to yourself. You have brains in your head, you have feet in your shoes. You can steer yourself any direction you choose. You're on your own, and you know what you know. And you are the girl who'll decide where to go." Congratulations. Shoshi Milsing. And Brianna Burgess. I now ask Ms. Mitra Jokanovic to come up.
It is my pleasure today to graduate Ms. Lawrence Mossy, Bertrand, Amanda, Elizabeth, and Gabriel. When I think of Gabriel, I think of kindness and politeness. Gabriel is one of the nicest people I know. He's been through a lot, plenty of adversity, but even in those situations, he's kind and forgiving. He's always there when you need him, and he offers his help unselfishly. I watched him grow from a sweet boy into an incredible and mature young man. It gives me an immense pleasure to graduate you today. Congratulations. Miss Blancas. I got to know Elizabeth as a rebellious, fun young girl. I know she even thought I didn't like her because of the way she was and because of the people she used to spend time with. And of course, that was the other thing. All of us at school got to witness a beautiful transformation of Elizabeth. Elizabeth go from a rebel girl to a go-to girl. For so many different things. She painted the signs in the school. She became my right hand in Spanish too, and so many other times. And she leaves me with the most beautiful gift, painting of the liberty leading the people of French Revolution on my door. You should all come and see it. It's a masterpiece. She's an incredible artist and a beautiful, beautiful soul. I am so happy to graduate you today. Dr. This young man is a perfect proof that anything and everything can be accomplished with hard work and persistence. He joined our school his junior year from a very, very different place. You already heard that, from Iran. He came to a new country, new environment, and new language. He took some of the most challenging classes for an English learner especially, and he excelled. Not only that, but he's been taking college classes his entire senior year. We're all so proud of him and are convinced that he will accomplish everything he sets his mind to. Congratulations, Lauren. I've known Lauren as a good student, as a brilliant young lady, but I truly got to know her as her volleyball coach. She will always be my teammate and a volleyball superstar. She's a leader and an unselfish team player. She doesn't believe she's succeeding unless the team is succeeding. Natural leader and a great, great friend. She kept it off from all of us until the very last moment, but she got into San Diego State University, and I expected nothing less. I'm so proud of you. Keep playing because you're a great player, and it's a huge pleasure to graduate you today. And Amanda. Her name means worthy of love in Latin. And addition from a dictionary, a girl intelligent, kind, witty. She can light up a room simply with her smile. And that is our Amanda. I'm sorry. I would add so much more to that. I thought of simple things like how to conjugate in Spanish and why it was a bad idea to drop the A-bomb. As a volleyball coach, I taught her how to serve and a few more small tricks. I wish I could have done more. And give back for all she's done for me and for our school and for all of us teachers. It's an understatement to say she was my right hand. She was both of my hands. My shoulder, so much more. Someone I could and everyone at the school rely on. Our little gorgeous shy freshman became the ASB president and the valedictorian as a junior. And in despite all her achievements, she's humble, unselfish, always there to help and be a good friend. My friend, too. As sad as I am to see her go, nothing gives me a greater pleasure and honor to graduate Amanda Carlson today. This year, and I'm gonna call Mr. Katakalides.
I don't know what it is, but every time I get called to do a speech, I always have to follow like a really good one. So, yeah. Can I get Taj over? Robin, Patty, please. We'll go ladies first. Robin is new to our school. She came from LA and has had long and interesting experiences before this. But speaking with Robin, it's very clear she has a very unique and distinct personality. Her greatest strength is that she is true to herself. She knows what she wants and she's not afraid to go out and get it. To have such a drive at her age is unique amongst all these individuals, and according to Dr. McCurdy's theme today, probably in my opinion has the clearest identity of herself right now, and if she can keep true to herself and willing to work hard throughout her life, I don't think there's nothing that she can't accomplish. So, Robin, congratulations. Taj, I've known for a little while, but he's only been a student of mine for a short time. Also, like Robin, has a very unique and distinct personality, more so towards his likes and dislikes are a little different. Inquisitive, very capable mind. He is constantly trying to look for different ways and things to express his desires and likes, and if he can figure out what he truly wants to do in life, I don't think there will be any challenge in front of him that he can overcome. It's funny because Taj has left us these past couple months. He's gone off to Wyoming. And it's interesting because while he was here at Coleman, he was a little unsure, a little trepidatious about himself and how he acted throughout the full round. But now that he's come back, he's standing straighter. He's looking forward more. He's a man. It's quite a change. We're very proud of him. We're really happy to see him graduate. Thank you. Good job. So it is now my pleasure to introduce Miss MC Galaji Rita Locker.
honored to present both Daryl Rice and Matt Walters for graduation. Daryl, you joined Coleman Tech just this past fall, and yet your contributions to our school and incorporation into our culture make it seem as if you've been at Coleman Tech for all 4 years. You are gifted with intelligence, a sense of humor, and the ability to accomplish tasks that could seem impossible to others. Your biggest gift, though, Daryl, is twofold. Your wonderful curiosity about how things work in the world, and your ability to take these complex, technical answers that you find and make them into a reality. Examples such as your styrofoam car, your bottle rocket, and electrical projects, too numerous to mention, embody your quest for knowledge and the ability to envision answers and make them come to life. Throughout life, each and every one of your talents will serve you well, both you and those whose lives you touch. Congratulations. And Matt, you've been my victim, actually student, since I began teaching at Coleman Tech 2.5 years ago. I've seen you grow over the years, deepening my initial conviction in what I knew, that you're a very gifted young man. Matt, both as your advisor and later as your teacher, I witnessed your many talents, your intelligence, your ability to see the truth through the haze of too many words, and your sense of loyalty and deep appreciation for those who care for you. But most of all, it's your tenacity, Matt, that strength you possess to hang in there when the going is more than tough. And it's linked with your ability to follow through, even when what you have to do is neither pleasant nor fun. Those are priceless gifts that you have not squandered. Your future's bright, and I believe that even when you're reluctant to see that as clearly as others around you, that you will use these talents you have to make the world a better place. Congratulations. I'd like to introduce Miss Sophia Rhodes.
Before I introduce the graduates, a few words about love. Although love means something different to each one of us, there is no doubt that across humanity, love informs and guides us to action. As teachers, we act with love through activities that foster the human spirit, moving in ways that facilitate space for the highest levels of learning, while creating safe environments to explore and imagine. Graduating our nearest future leaders of tomorrow on this stage this morning is the culmination of what love has fostered and nourished. And because we watched our garden grow, we will forever be changed by each lovely flower. I am honored to have participated in the journey of so many students on this stage, and in particular, those who I will personally graduate. Can I introduce to the stage Mr. Andrew Anderson, Deshaun Min, Layla Odom, Jason Esquera, Colin Enfield, and Brandon Valesky. Wait for his mom to get her camera ready. The first graduate is Mr. Colin Enfield. Colin connects deeply to music and poetry and recently wrote a rap highlighting the alleged wrongdoings of big banks and big farmers that can rival a Broadway performance in Hamilton. I have observed Colin mentoring and helping friends in school and noted his genuine concern for the well-being of a select few students dear to him. His sphere of love, however, does not only comprise those close to him. It also links to acts of protection and service in the greater community, as evidenced in his work with Young Marines, Lutheran leadership, and feeding the homeless. Colin's college plan is to attend Mesa College and continue to perform community service. Congratulations. Brandon Velasquez. Brandon ended his ROK with the following quote by Jim Carrey. "My soul is not contained within the limits of my body. My body is contained within the limitlessness of my soul. So once you become fearless, life becomes limitless." This quote is apropos considering his long-term goal of becoming a professional boxer and his short-term goal of attending Mesa College with an eye on transferring to San Diego State to complete his education in psychology, his favorite high school class. Clearly, Brandon has figured out how to balance his passions between the body and the mind. But what about the spirit? Well, Brandon has also covered the spirit through music. He is currently a student of a conservatory music professor and hopes to enter the conservatory to hone and develop his drumming skills. Anyone who knows Brandon knows his triumphs have been hard-won. As for future goals, well, I'm willing to bet the more he will achieve them, all of them. I talk of Brandon's accomplishments, hopes, and dreams to illuminate those who do not know him, the determination of a man who has stopped at nothing to transform his life into something beautiful, something that brings him honor, and something he knows he is deserving of. His journey has been nothing short of phenomenal, and because of his hard work across multiple fronts, today he moves with the authority of a champion. Congratulations. Deshaun Min. Whether in front of the camera or behind its lens, Deshaun's sphere of love resides in his creative, ambition, sharing of human passions of the everyman. In his application letter to the university, he writes about his dream to become a filmmaker, stating, and I quote, "It started from trying to create something that my family would love, filming our daily lives with my iPod and editing it to make it look like a television show. It was not from watching films or movies that inspired me to become a filmmaker. It was the joy I wanted to give others that drove me to my purpose." Deshaun has made an indelible mark on our campus by sharing bits of himself with us and with the world, and believes it is a sacred honor to discern both great and small aspects of humanity as a way to create and unify around a common and global purpose. I am certain UCSD, Deshaun's chosen university, will be the foundation upon which Deshaun's dreams will come to fruition. Congratulations. Jason Nasira, our co-valedictorian and co-president. He sees his passions as purpose. His love sphere is far-reaching, embracing each purpose with the entirety of his being. In the English classroom, his natural ability leads him to find truth and prove its worth through critical analysis. In the art room, he seeks beauty in his art, painting with detail only the most trained artist sees. In ASB, he is a team player and he is also a leader, captain of the volleyball team and a sporting man in every season. Jason is truly a Renaissance man and a man to be reckoned with. Jason has chosen SDSU School of Nursing as a stepping stone to his desired career in the medical field. When he talks about his dreams and goals in his chosen profession, perhaps as a pediatrician, it is with a love that has the capacity to move one to tears as he speaks from a place deep within his heart. For now, what brings Jason great joy, in his own words, is each moment itself. Congratulations. Layla Odom. When I sat down to pen your graduation speech, I sought to write words that would transcend this moment and not last a lifetime. In the process, I was reminded of an article I read about the beautiful and the sublime, the embodiment of beauty in all forms and all inspiring ideas. And seeing each as an activity of love, I started to write. From the first day you entered my advisory, I was awed by your inner beauty, strength, and humble command of whatever space you occupied. Later, when I had the privilege to journey with you through English, I was again struck by your intelligence, determination, and spirit. I have watched you love the world, both the grit and the grandeur. I thought, wow, Layla understands us and has figured out a way to resolve the polarities of the splendid and the simple. And she is so young. Imagine what she will do in the future. Over the course of 3 years, I witnessed a brilliant richness in your work that always finds what hides in the ordinary as you wax remarkable in thought and action. My wish for you is that you continue to inspire courage and greatness as you participate in causes for human rights, that you use your power well, and that you continue to love greatly, knowing you are deserving of every ounce of love from every person in every sphere of the world. Congratulations and much luck to you as you grace the college of your choice in the law. Although Andrew Anderson is not here, I want to honor him with my words and mark the ceremony today. Today's celebration marks a moment when one moves almost without conscious knowledge of the shift from one chapter to another. With diploma in hand delineating 4 years of personal and academic growth, there is a record, a representation of success. And you hold it, yet you cannot hold the vastness that is you. You cannot see into the depth of your unique and beautiful soul. You cannot measure your capacity to love or identify the yet uncharted expansiveness that is your future. And with all that you have accomplished and all you will accomplish, there will always be another door. But there is one element that is and has always been part of you, and that is the ability to love and be loved. So immerse yourself in family and friendships that strengthen your love bond. Seek activities in which you love to participate, like hockey, and love without reservation. Because no matter what you do, when you approach it with love, it can only be better. I know you have learned much about the power of love and its transformative qualities as it relates to self and others. Take those lessons with you as you enter Mary University in North Dakota, one of your top 2 choice schools. And as I close my portion of the ceremony, I leave Andrew and every graduate on this stage with a passage from the late Supreme Court Justice Scalia from his 1957 address to his fellow students at Georgetown. He said, "We should measure the success of these past 4 years not by the particles of truth that we have captured, for they are only grains of sand on an ocean shore, and soon even these may trickle from our memories. But if, by means of them, we have learned to love the truth, learn the art of hunting her, learn how to think, how to take an idea that lies dead between the pages of a book and make it live within our minds, then we leave here wise, ardent, skillful seekers of truth." In closing, I would like to echo the sentiments of Justice Scalia. Seek the truth in all you do, because the pursuit of truth can never be separated from love. They will always entwine. Remember that, and remember too, it has been my pleasure and my honor to be part of your lives. You have not only been students to me, you have been teachers as well, and I am grateful for the part you played in one another's lives. I wish you all much love and light today and always. Now I'd like to introduce Dr. McCurdy. Introduce Dr. McCurdy.
All right, I get to graduate some students too. Okay, I'm going to start with Tyler Aston.
Yeah, let's just listen.
Tyler makes me chuckle all the time. He's so serious and so deliberate, and yet if you listen carefully, you realize that he is a jokester and prankster at heart. Be careful if you include this young man in your photos today. Right, Tyler? I think my favorite Tyler memory is his response to a question that I asked my sysadmin class. I have a lot of smart kids in that class who know a lot about technology. Tyler's usually pretty quiet. No one knew the answer, and there was a long pause while I waited for students to think. Tyler raised his hand hesitantly, and then floored us all with his spot-on answer. Be careful, world. Tyler is smart as a whip. Tyler, congratulations. I'm going to miss you, buddy. Next we have Justin Collier. Justin was never one of my advisees, but I knew him well, and I feel that in his 4 short years with us, that we have lived a lifetime. I remember having heart-to-heart talks with him back in the old building when he was young, didn't care about school or his grades, and thought he was going to have an easier time at a real school, as he called it. He didn't like us being on him. Justin returned to Coleman Tech a year later with a newfound maturity born from the realization that maybe it is good to have people on you. He started to care a little bit more about his classes. Then Justin became a father. I hope I'm not embarrassing you here, Justin. Your transformation is something that you should be super proud of, and I can't tell your story without telling you the whole story. Justin took his new role so seriously. He became a model student, studied all of the time. He knew that he had to make something of himself. He wound up graduating early so that he could join the military and better provide for his son. And then he ultimately decided not to join so that he could be with his son. Justin has handled this challenge in his life with maturity that is well beyond his years. Justin, I'm really proud of you. I'm going to miss you. Congratulations. Next up, we have Preston Bowers. I have had a lot of talks with Preston over the years. He has a lot of raw talent, and I look forward to seeing what he's able to do with it. He has an innate desire to figure out how things work, which is going to serve him well in his chosen field of marine engineering. He would often come to me after class and probe me about how some technological gadget works. I only wish that he'd done this during class so that all of the others could hear his questions and share in his newfound knowledge. Preston, I wish you all the best in college. I hope you remember the things that I told you in our talks. This is your time, buddy. Congratulations. Next up, we have John Baines. I'm so thrilled to be graduating John Baines today. He has been such a forceful personality on our campus since the day he arrived. In his reflection of knowledge, he claimed that he had been a bit of a tyrant during his freshman year, but I don't remember that. I just remember the always happy, always exuberant, always laughing young man that you see before us. John left my advisory this year to join ASB. I was reluctant to lose him, but I knew that in his role with ASB, he had the capacity to transform the whole school with his enthusiasm. He was our spirit commissioner this year, and he did not disappoint. I think my most enduring memories of John will be the many foot-and-mouth incidents where he'd be telling a joke or story and would inevitably hit the somewhat rude punchline just as I walked up behind him. Either he was always telling rude jokes, or he was really, really unlucky. John, you've been such a fantastic addition to our school. I'm going to miss you a lot. Congratulations. Next up, we have Alyssa Heald. Allie has been with me forever. I think that I've had her as a student for at least one period per day for her entire time at Coleman Tech. She was the lone girl and the anchor of my testosterone-heavy advisory until Emily, up next, shared that role this year. Allie has been my TA, one of my most trusted sysadmin students, and most recently our robotics and sysadmin treasurer. I've seen Allie blossom into a beautiful young woman. I saw her transform before my eyes from an anxious, nervous little girl who avoided presenting her ROK to me each year, probably because she was worried she would disappoint, into the confident, self-assured woman who presented an outstanding ROK in front of half of the school. It's live streamed, and I encourage you guys to check it out on our website. Allie, it is hard for me to imagine Coleman Tech without you. I know you'll be back to visit, but it will not be the same. You're going to be fantastic. I wish you all the best. And my last one is Emily Perry. Emily is such an amazing young woman. I was so happy that she joined my advisory this year. Like others on the stage today, she has dealt with things that no child should have to endure, but her response was not self-pity. She suffers from type 1 diabetes, and it seems from the day that she was diagnosed that she has been helping other children cope with their condition. She has raised several $1,000s per year for the last 5 years for the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation, and has been a camp counselor for the past 2 summers at a day camp for children who have diabetes where she was responsible for monitoring and assessing the children's meals and insulin levels and helping them come to terms with and control their disease. Emily has a maturity beyond words. She is graduating a year early, and while I'm proud of her for this accomplishment, I wish we could keep her for another year. Emily, I will miss you, but I know it's your time to soar. Congratulations. Up next, we have Mr. Nelsonberger.
Miss Ariana Walker. She just joined my advisory this year when I started to teach the Visual and Performing Arts class. And because I had another student named Ariana in my class, she asked me to address her as Chicago. So, Miss Chicago, as an artist, you're quite simply amazing. Your cardboard self-portrait that you did at the beginning of the year was just absolutely great. You also took the inspiration picture that Miss Lowe gave you, and you made that door artwork your own piece. And as you leave Coleman Tech today, as an early graduate, know that you will always be part of our community, and not just because you painted that door, but because you made a mark on all of us. Congratulations, Ariana.